So we have this guy that every meeting, and he's running the meeting, he is eating, and yeah, all the cameras are off. He's just eating, and all you hear is this, Evan.
I would just be like, I'm out. I would not be able to handle it. I wouldn't be able to handle it. I can't.
The
can't
the messages back and forth between me and my team as we're talking is like, really, seriously, like, so we sit there, we guess, like, all right, what is he eating today?
Yeah.
Jolly is he eating Jolly Ranchers?
Oh my God. Wow. So my first year professor, Bernard Zimmerman, rest in peace, Bernard Zimmerman, he used to eat during studio every day. It must have been around that time. Studio was a long class. So
It was, yeah.
and he was working on his figure, so he was bringing salads to studio to eat, and during crits it was just constantly mowing down salads.
What's interesting is, okay, so I'll bring a cup of coffee with me, like a tumbler, and as I'm walking
Totally
around
fine.
talking,
Cup of coffee, totally fine.
Which
Here
I
we
feel like
go.
that's fine
I'll
because
take a sip.
because I talk a lot and my voice gets like kind of strained by the time
Coffee's
the end
helping.
of the day.
Coffee's
So,
helping.
and
Keeping
coffee's
your thirst
helping.
quenched.
Exactly. It's lubricating the vocal cords, and all of that other stuff. But yeah, but I have seen some strange behavior from students in presentations, crits, and things
Interesting.
like that.
Eating a bag of chips.
like
It's
they
like
have
those people
to
in
have,
the movie theater who have to open the loudest packaging of candy that is possible during a movie.
Exactly.
Right behind you, by the way.
Or it's just like, what do you think they meant by that? And you're like, really? That's a whole different conversation in its own right. But
Commentary track needs to be turned off right now. Thanks.
exactly. I wasn't going to see Mystery Science Theater 3000. Yeah. But
So your students bring food like during class or during crits, during
class.
pinups? When is
during
this
class I'm fine with, because again, they're working a lot and all of that other stuff. But a lot of times they'll have, what we require is, if somebody is giving a presentation, the other people in class have got to come and give their full undivided attention
Pay
to
attention. Yeah.
and
contribute.
They're all on their phones, they're eating, they're doing everything else, and I don't think I can't remember the last time I was in a client meeting that wasn't like a working lunch or something like that we were having a meeting where people were eating while you were trying to present. It's this common courtesy kind of thing that is going to be learned behavior. I mean, they've never done it before, so
I wanted to go that direction because I feel like, is this just the way things are going, which is multitasking? You have to do everything because there's no set aside time to do things anymore because everything bleeds into everything. Is that what's going on?
yeah, probably. I mean, here's the funny thing is, like, I think we've joked about this on previous episodes, but it is a real thing. You know it, I know it, that when now you're so bombarded with meetings,
People
Zoom
just
meetings
work
and everything
during
else,
lunch
that
now because
people
that's when they
work
have to get
during
work done.
lunch, people work during the meetings, people work during, it's just like, hey, Evan, what do you think about that? I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
I was working.
Which, I actually had all intentions of starting this conversation off with asking you this, and it's like,
Prompt me like
What?
like an LLM. There should be a rap about that. Prompt me.
what is the most used saying, term, whatever you want to call it? Let's just say saying, or the most used phrase. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. What is the most used phrase Say phrase.
Why are you distracted right now, Cormac? Are you reading an email?
I'm doing work. No. What is the most used phrase in architecture? And it's probably almost every profession, to be quite honest with you now, but at least in architecture over, let's just say, the last 5 years.
Did you already give it away? I don't know. What is it?
I haven't, but I wrote it down here on a piece of paper.
And how scientific is this? How have you come up with this? Is this just your intuition? Is this something you've documented many times?
It's because of the frequency. Either I say it or somebody else says it during a meeting.
Guilty. You're guilty. I see. Okay. You're feeling the guilt. You want to get this off your chest.
I'm not the one who's actually guilty because I can't say it without giving it away. But what do you think is the...
Well, what always used to show up when I was in meetings and especially in design meetings. So I don't know like what kind of meeting you're talking about, but there's so many things where it's these little triggers for me, which is like, well, as you can see, like during a presentation to a client, and it's like, it's those kinds of things. They're almost cliches, like it is what it is, and they're circling back, and there's all these corporate terms as well. So, I mean, I feel like this could go a lot of different directions. I don't know.
It can, and the reason why I wrote it down, and I wanted to talk to you about it.
Let's put that in the parking lot.
But the reason why I brought it up is because of another thought that I was having. So, most used term that I have seen that I've either used or has been used in meetings for at least, let's just say, the last 5 years. You're on mute.
You're on mute. I can't hear you. You're on mute. You're muted. Cormac, you're muted.
Exactly.
This is the new.
Exactly.
It still is going on. Yeah.
It's still going on.
It's still going on. And
now, the reason I say that is because I don't recall the last time in a face-to-face meeting that I never said that you're on mute.
No, of course.
And so that's the thing is like, if most of our meetings are now on Zoom and most people go on mute when they're not speaking and all that other stuff, and then they start speaking, the natural flow of a meeting is completely shot, completely gone. Like we don't have the conversations that we used to have before.
Okay, so the term for that is like the flow of thought, the flow of work, the speed of thought. It's like that you're in the river, right, and it is moving at whatever clip it's moving at, and everybody's moving along until
you hit a rock.
Until you're on mute. Until there's a technology problem, until something like that, right?
So if you're in the river and you're flowing down the river, and every time you have to say, you're on mute, that's a rock. That actually
it's a capsizing size rock.
It halts your progress going downstream.
And then you get caught in the eddy behind the rock, sucked under the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never to recover.
Because then they're like, oh, I'm sorry, because then there's always this apology for, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't find the mute button, or I didn't realize I was on mute, or something like that. And again, that whole flow just goes away.
Gone. Vaporized.
And I don't know why, I guess I was just lamenting, reminiscing, pining, whatever's a good term for like those face-to-face meetings. Those in-person meetings where you couldn't get away with, missing Cormac's eye rolls, or
you couldn't be texting people in the background wondering what the person's eating. There's stuff in the pros and cons list here, Cormac, to in-person versus virtual meetings.
Well, but so now virtual meetings, because they've become so prevalent.
Well, you live in another state from the firm that
exactly. But there's not only are they so prevalent, but they dominate your entire workday. Now you don't really have time to actually do the work that you're doing. And so say you have all of these meetings and you still have to get that work done that needs to be there, then you need to actually do more work, and it starts to draw out.
Okay, so that you're muted. I can't hear you. Is the rock in the river? There's so many other rocks in the river when it comes to getting work done nowadays, right? So it's the phone's going off, the instant message is coming in, the email notification on the screen, I've got 4 apps on the screen at all times. Let me just look in if I hit a command tab on my Mac. Okay, I have 17 apps open right now, Cormac. All right, that's just normal, okay? And I've got my phone and I've got my iPad and et cetera, et cetera. And there's been ways that they've tried to address this with technology over the years. Like, okay, full screen apps, right? Like there's this go full screen, go minimal interface so you can really focus on your writing or whatever these things are. None of it seems to work because what is it all actually about? It's all about boundaries and discipline. And those things are gone. Like there's no such thing as boundaries and discipline anymore. You are muted, Cormac. Cormac, you are literally muted.
That was like, I wanted to see how long I was.
You set me up, damn
exactly. It. But, and that's the thing is just like,
Actually, I liked it. Could you go back on mute? I'll keep talking.
I like the sound of my own voice. Yeah. Yeah.
Did I just derail you? We just derailed the conversation. Yeah, look at you. You don't have anything to say.
See, there you go. I
proof.
Just out of, pure humor of, trying to say something, I actually completely derailed myself.
That was great.
Yeah. Couldn't have scripted that one.
So I mean, I think it's come up on the show many times, and it's just actually not changing. I think AI is the new version of whatever this is. So okay, let me ask you, with your observations of people using AI, or with you using AI yourself, do you find that you are using it to help you get things done faster, or might I lead the witness a little bit here and say, are you just doing more stuff?
Doing more stuff.
You can go to observations as well. Like if you're not using it that much, I mean, what are you seeing people do?
So say I'm having a conversation with somebody, and I ask them a question, and then the next thing I hear is, right?
They're taking notes, Cormac. They're actually no.
And then there's a slight pause, and then they're like, well, I think that. And then you can sort
real time. It's I've got the thing in the ear and it's telling me what to say. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like,
really? You're like, really?
Yeah. And you're just like,
did you just say delve?
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, what did you say? And when people are not paying attention or they're not working, or they're doing
as long as they're on camera. Yeah. Usually. Or in person.
Well, or if they're not on camera, because a lot of my meetings, the client actually prefers to not be on camera, so nobody's on camera. And when people say, "I'm sorry, can you say that again?" Or, "Sorry, my mic was cutting out," or my audio was cutting out. What did you say? I love the excuses of not paying attention. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, because it's the interesting thing is like how many examples of excuses can you get for not paying attention? Like,
I've been mowing the grass, Cormac. I sneezed. I muted out of
there you go.
Respect for the podcast.
Exactly,
yeah.
And
don't have to edit that out.
Exactly. Use AI to edit out Evan's sneezes.
Remove sneezes.
Yes.
This whole thing is actually getting worse, I think, because what does every response from an AI end with? It ends with a question.
Oh yeah.
It ends with a question.
Yeah.
Do you want to know more? Do you want me to look at this? Do you want to look at other options? Which one of these do you like? And it's super encouraging to keep going, right?
So I wrote an email today, and the email was a little confusing.
ChatGPT did.
No. I wrote an email, and the email was either I didn't like the tone, I didn't like it, so I went in and I asked him hey, can you take a look at this? And
I like how you have this self-awareness. I don't like my tone.
Yeah. And so how did it end? It basically rewrote it as very minor edits. And I was
I think that's a legit use of this is great. It's doing a little editing.
I don't mind the tone. So here was like the last comment, because I actually have it up on another screen. As a snapshot of the outstanding list, for instance, workflow, blah, blah, blah. And it suggested, by way of example, workflow, blah, 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 which is shown as the most overdue item. And so I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense. It takes Cormac's very standard, and I'm sure you've seen this because I text you a lot, where I have a conversation with you, but then I have a conversation in my head that I'm having with you, but I put that in parentheses because that's the conversation in my head that I don't want to forget saying, but it's not part of the stream of consciousness. It is a side thought in my head for the stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
But
Squirrel.
and so that was totally like, those are the ways that I use it at best. And you'll have things like, would you like this to be more direct? Would you like this to be less confrontational? Or would you like it to be more confrontational, or whatever? It's just like,
Yeah.
do you want
More
me to put the
provocative, right.
proverbial foot in their hind quarter?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be the tough guy.
You'd start.
So, I mean, this is, I think, this part of the struggle that, I mean, we definitely have it in technology side of things, which is there's an enthusiasm for said tool, and it doesn't mean you actually see the benefit of that tool. It's like what happened when we went from CAD to BIM. What happened with CAD to BIM? Well, you could add way more detail now, and so you could nitpick all kinds of things and continue to zoom in. Like, this is CAD in general, right? From going digital, just said. Now you can zoom in forever and be accurate, right?
Yes.
And I'm using my podcasting air quotes because it's accuracy. There's a lot of ways to define accuracy, right? And when you're talking about design intent, you're talking about something entirely different than what you're talking about when somebody says LOD 350 or 400 or all the way up to whatever, 500. And so I feel like those are all symptoms along the way of what we're continuing to experience with this stuff, which is, oh, well, it wrote the thing, it was good enough, but let's try 3 more versions. Let's try these options. Let's stress test this. Let's go, keep going. And you're not actually getting that time back that everybody talked about, right? And so by continuing to operate like that, your mind is, I mean, man, talk about distractions and more things to do and more things to hold in your brain and more things to try. And now you start making lists about things to try, and it's like, this is never ending. And so can you actually blame people who have literally been trained to not pay attention to something for more than 3 seconds? There was some study that said that and I don't know that this number sounds a little crazy, but I think it was on, I want to say McKinsey, but I could be wrong. But it was something like you switch applications 1,200 times per day. That's a lot. Okay, 1,200 times a day is once like every 27 seconds. So if you're in Revit all day long, okay, probably not. But how many monitors do you have going at one time? How many apps do you have on the screen at one time? Visually, you're switching. So you have 4 monitors?
Well,
okay,
so I have 3 monitors and an iPad sitting right now.
Okay. So it's not accounting necessarily, because you know as well as I do, like, I can scroll over to my email program right now and I can scroll the list of emails while I'm still actively in this app.
Yes.
Right. And so that doesn't count as a click. That's a visual click, if we want to call it that. Same thing on the phone. You've got notifications popping up. You're swiping between apps. You're going to this.
Yeah.
I feel this so strongly, which is like, I went into the email to do something and pretty soon I'm doing something else and I forgot what I went in there for. And that is like the minorest version of this, right? There are so many things that need to happen, and I have zero way now today. I mean, I'm blaming myself for this. I have no way to stay on track. I have no ability to stay on track. How do I do it?
So, funny example, or real example. We're in a meeting. We were talking about a bunch of things. I wrote down, what those things that I needed to kind of track were, right? One of them was I needed to respond to an email that had that we had agreed upon a couple of different dates for some deliverables, and I wanted to make sure that I memorialized those along with a couple of few line item details of things that we need from them, right? So hung up, kind of did like a little after action meeting with some of the people who were on our team that were on the meeting. We just kind of made sure and said, yeah, I'll go ahead and draft and send off that email. So I click reply all to the email, start writing it out, right? And then Zoom pops up and somebody says, hey, Cormac, can you help me out with something like this? Or do you have a second to chat about a question that I have on a submittal?
Just 1 second.
I'm like, sure.
Got time for a quick chat? 45
and then
minutes
about
later.
4 hours or so later, somebody had reached out and said, hey, did you ever send that email? I didn't see it. I just wanted to make sure it was squared away. So I'm like, got it written. All I got to do is hit send. Not a big deal. And they're like, okay, cool. Thanks. Appreciate it. So then here I am. I run off to school, right? After I had that whole not a big deal, I've already written it, just got to hit send.
Now
Normally,
you just look like a fool.
No. It gets fool. It gets. I haven't hit my level of foolishness yet. So I was just like, well, let me just read it, make sure it sounds all right, make sure I've got everything that we wanted to cover in the email response. All right, it's looking good. Something else pops up. Somebody calls me. Hey, Cormac, you got a real quick second? Sure. Let's start talking. Right. This is on a Friday where I have to leave at 1 in the afternoon to go teach. Leave to go teach. I get a text like almost at the end of the day, just double checking, make sure you've sent off that email. No, I did not. Again, it is written. It is ready to go. I have not hit send. So I'm like, damn it. Sorry, I have not. It's written. It's sitting in my inbox or in my draft box. I'll do it when I get home. Thankfully, I did remember to do it when I got home. I started writing that email because this was our overseas client. We have early meetings with them. I started writing this email at 7:30 in the morning. I sent it at 7:30 p.m. Really, Cormac?
Productive. You are a model of productivity.
Model of productivity. Model of focus.
Product of the times, more like it. It's what do we do about that? I mean, this is the life which is just constantly putting out fires, right?
Right.
And what happened to those days when you used to like open up a book and start reading, and then 8 hours were gone, and you were like, "What just happened?"
I constantly
you could get so deep into one thing.
Yeah, I constantly refer to several of our projects as just constant fire drills. We're always running after putting out one fire after another, after another, after another. I mean, everybody, as you know, because of the expediency of our responses to people, the expediency of our availability and things like that, where
always connected, always on call.
Exactly. Everybody thinks that what used to be the immediacy of the priority, right? Mm-hmm. And so,
what's the Eisenhower matrix, right? It's like urgent and important, urgent but not important, mm-hmm. important but like there's 4 boxes, and it was like basically anything that's in these 3 boxes, you don't need to do those yet. You need to do only the things that are in this box. But there's like, we don't necessarily have the right filters for urgent and important, it seems like.
So it goes back to this kind of like earlier conversation that we were having about the meetings, the in-person meetings versus the online meetings. Online meetings, it's very easy for people to get distracted during those meetings. Oh yeah. Whether they're on camera or not, if they're not talking, they might be looking at something else, or they may be having to like do a slide deck or draw a door detail.
They got stuff to
whatever.
Do. They have deadlines, right? That meeting's getting in the way of. Yep.
And if you think about it, when you're in the office and you're face to face with somebody, there's just so much time that I can legitimately take up of your time when I come to talk to you about something, that I will walk away from you and go and do my work. And And now it's become so easy to have multiple distractions. I literally will have people queue up in that once they see my little red dot go green, they'll immediately say, "Hey, Cormac, just want to catch you before your next call. Need to have a chat with you about something."
It's actually called stalking. That's called stalking. That's.
I feel like I'm stalked an awful lot.
These little indicators of availability are evil. That's indicators of availability. There's the title.
Could you just imagine if you were actually sitting in the office and you have like a little red light, green light at your desk, and you like
at your desk,
and you hit it, and when it goes red, it's like, don't talk to me and let me just sit there and focus and work.
Do not disturb.
And then you can like click it and it goes green, and it's just like, okay, now I am free for talk.
You have just these signs going up every once in a while all over the office, different desks at different states, and they're constantly moving. I mean, it reminds me of this book called Deep Work by Cal Newport, and it's all about like the ability for us to do real work and not just constantly be doing stuff that would qualify as keeping you busy, which isn't real work, right? It's kind of like accounting of. We have to do this all the time in architecture offices, right? You have to respond to those chats, respond to those emails. You have to file those emails. You have to prepare for the meeting. You have to do the after action review. You've got to. There's so many things, right? You've got to follow up on this and send this file to that person. And oh, really? You needed a JPEG instead of a PDF, and you can't do that yourself. Like there's just all of these different versions of. Got to load the paper in the printers and blah 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 blah, and none of that is deep work. And there's like literally nobody even knows what that means anymore. You have to go into a windowless room and lock the door where no one can find you.
Right.
You have to go to a coffee shop. You have to do it on nights and weekends. You have to do it on your lunch hour while you're eating. It's like, when do you actually have the opportunity? And the profession that we are in benefits from and requires a level of deep work for the type of work that we do.
Absolutely.
But we have been inundated, and like this is like boiling the frog, right? These things that I think is just kind of caught up to the modern way of doing business, which is you're always available, you're always on call, you have a leash right here, this phone that's in your pocket, right? That people can call on you at any moment and bug you, if not actually get a hold of you and require your time. It's like. And so again, like I guess this goes back to that original idea of boundaries and discipline, right? Boundaries and discipline, and that falls on the individual. And okay, so this takes me back, like way back to Andrew Maynard's stuff from a long time ago. He had a blog. So Architect, is that his name? Right? He's the guy who does the videos now. Him and Kevin. Archie Marathon. They go out and do all these cool videos, and he used to keep this 3-ring binder on his desk, like with the employee manual in it, right? And it was like there was all these things that were written down for the firm that nobody paid attention to. Nobody honored these things, so it was like working overtime, and it was all-nighters, and it was all these things, and it was basically like, I'm actually going to go buy this book that you have published and say this is your employee manual. And everything that you say to me that falls outside of this manual, I'm just going to say no to. And I think it's really applicable to what I'm talking about now with boundaries and discipline. Like I think the default answer to most things should be no.
Right.
Because we have a job to do.
Right.
And all this other stuff is not urgent, nor is it important. And sometimes it starts to bleed into one of those boundaries, and that might not even be your problem, but you've been asked to do it by somebody else. How do you say no more?
Yeah. I could have easily started with what is the most difficult word for an architect.
Yes.
No. Well, we could look at that. That's interesting.
We could study that. That'd be a good study.
Let us study about that. And I can't tell you how many times I've been on meetings where somebody will say something and I will kind of like quietly message them. It's just like, that's not in our scope.
Don't agree to that.
Don't agree to that. Or somebody will call me out on it and say, Cormac, we've already gone through this. They've asked for this a couple of times. Let's just say no to them. And then halfway through me somewhat agreeing to do something, I have to figure out a way to backtrack,
Yeah, right.
which is a gift if you can do it. I don't know how well I am, but I try. I try to say no, but that's the hardest thing is like we are the pleaser. We are a customer service profession, and we feel like saying no to somebody is that. And then we wonder, well, we didn't hit our target profitability on this project. Does you care to tell us why? Because we couldn't say no. We kept saying yes.
Well, there's that. There's a million reasons why that might have happened.
Sure.
There's
Yeah.
a million reasons.
We couldn't say no to them. We couldn't say no to us. We couldn't say no to,
We didn't
us.
foresee, we had unforeseen conditions. We didn't know the computers were going to take a crap in the middle of the like whatever. There's so many
we
things.
didn't realize that we broke this project up into 2 models. And when you open up one model, it takes 57 minutes. When you open up the other model, it's only 43 minutes. And if you try to open them up at the same time, you can try to open them up at the same time, but that's an hour and 20 some odd minutes. I'm not saying that that's anything that I've ever clocked before, but what do I do for that?
Those are pretty accurate numbers.
But what do I do for
Precise,
that
I should
time
say.
when I'm trying to actually open up something? It's just like, I have a meeting. I'm going to be talking to Evan in a few minutes about something. Okay, where do I need to get that information from? Oh, I need to get it from the model. Okay, well, our meeting's at 11. At 9:30, I better start getting my stuff wound up, or I won't be ready for that meeting. And so now here you are starting at 9:30 to get prepared for an 11 o'clock meeting, and half of your computer is bogged down because you're trying to open up this unruly, massive model.
Yep.
Not saying that that is something that I've lived through for
Tangent there.
in 13 days will have been exactly 5 years. But I'm not counting. I'm not counting.
Again, weirdly precise numbers for things you're not tracking.
Yes. Think of how many times over the course of just this 5-year the 5 years that this project has been going on. And we've always talked about some of the projects that you've worked on, that I've worked on, that I have right now, that have taken so long. How many times a good no would have saved us so much time, effort. I wish somebody would have said no to me when I mentioned to them, hey, let's just do these 8 buildings in 2 models rather than 8 models.
Yeah. Hindsight. 20/20.
Hindsight. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll never make that mistake again.
I mean, they say that the best way for someone to learn is from their mistakes, not from their successes. And
They do say that. That is where learning happens.
and may have architects mastered their profession because, yeah. And then, I mean, I don't know if you consider RFIs or change orders or ASIs or anything else like that a mistake, but sometimes you're like, man, I wish I would have caught that. I don't know if you've ever thought
RFI
that.
stands for Room for Improvement, Cormac.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I appreciate it. That's a very interesting observation. I'll take a look at that.
Right. It's in the drawings, Cormac.
We were talking today. I was talking to a friend who was talking about what is the professional or proper way of saying no, or the colorful 2-word metaphor for no. The other
Okay.
one, the FU version of it. And we were commenting that the British, and since I've dealt with a lot of British architects and engineers recently over the course of this last 5-year project, one of the interesting things is they'll say, well, we'll take that under advisement.
Very polite.
Exactly.
That's a very polite engineer thing to say.
Exactly right.
I will not admit whether this was right or wrong. I may or may not take a look at this in the future.
But we will take
I'll take it under advisement.
Exactly. I was like, you're right. They
That's very general.
They seem to say that often to me.
That's non-committal. I mean, that's basically, I mean, and you interpret that as a no. Oh, that's not happening.
Exactly. Yeah. Or it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
I remember in pro practice class, my professor, every time he would like role play a conversation with a client. And basically, like every time the client asked some kind of a question about like what if we explored blah blah blah, what if we, well, now I want this many whatever bedrooms or bathrooms or whatever it is, and every time he would say, he would quiz the class, now what do you do? And like every class he would bring this piece of paper with him that was an agreement for additional services. He would bring it to class and he would hold it up. He'd say, what's the answer to that question? And he would hold up this piece of paper.
additional services.
Additional services. Yep, that wasn't in the contract.
Although I don't remember during pro practice the
You were
discussion.
sleeping?
No.
You were ditching class? Like,
No, the discussion
you were
about
on your phone.
additional services. Yeah, no phone back then. The discussion about additional services and the painful back and forth negotiations of you submit something that's basically just the hours that you've already expended on said task that they asked you to do. And they push back and say, I don't really think that these hours are justified with the work that has been produced. Like, but all of the meetings, all of the this, all of the that, we did this, and this. And they're like, yeah, well, we don't see it that way.
See, you're doing it backwards there. You pull out the additional services when the request comes up, you get the signature, and now we can move forward and actually do these things. Because if they don't want to do that, then what's the answer, Cormac? No. Then we're not doing it. You're going to pay me to do it, or we're not doing it. There's
True.
a lesson in there, isn't there?
There is a lesson. One of these days I'll learn it. Not sure when, but
Before you retire?
which kind of retire?
Whenever that is. Yeah. We'll just leave that
The-
open-ended.
Exactly. There are a few examples of retirement, and I think I might be taking the latter of them. Which one I'm talking about?
Why
Rest in
is
peace.
that? Because you
Rest
love
in
this
peace,
profession
Frank.
so much? Because you don't ever want to leave it? Because... Yeah,
Don't know how to say no.
just trying to figure this out. Trying to figure out the psychology of you.
Don't ever try that. Don't ever try that.
It's a lose. I'll lose that game.
Yeah. I lose that game every day.
Yeah. We've all got our own mental illness, Cormac. We're not special.
True.
We have to deal with it more than anybody else. So
Yep.